Mario Kart Wii is a kart racing game. Like any kart racer, the developers made clear the intended roads they wanted you to take on each track. Some of them are pretty linear, some of them give you a couple different paths to choose from, and some kinda overdo it. But of course, at the end of the day, the whole idea is making it to the end of the track as quickly as possible. And usually, when there are forks in the road, one path tends to be faster than the other. This makes sense. What doesn't make sense is just how bad a lot of these other routes are. Most of the time, the different paths were made to be pretty well balanced, but every now and then, a track has a road so slow, so pointlessly slow, you have to wonder why they even put it there. In this video, I set out on a mission to figure out the absolute worst time-wasting road in all of Mario Kart Wii. Sit back and relax, cause this is about to get ugly. But before we can determine the slowest road in the entire game, we need to get a list of the slow routes on every track. I searched far and wide to compile a list of pointless paths, stupid streets, and raunchy roads. I didn't expect there to be much, but after looking into each track, I realized just how many paths there are that I had completely forgotten about. And before showing you my findings, there's one thing we've got to get out of the way. What about items? How are we going to determine if a road is slower if it has an item box? You could pull a thundercloud, a banana, a bullet, and that could drastically affect whether the path is slower or faster. The simple solution we're going with is giving every item set a 2-second handicap, meaning that if one path is 2 seconds slower but has an item box where the other path doesn't, the two paths will count as even. In other words, for the sake of convenience, we're assuming every item box gives you triple mushrooms that are being used on a straightaway. With all that out of the way, let's explore. We're going to be breaking this up into a few parts. First part is, we're going to go through every track, and we're going to take note of these bad paths. And we're going to do it with Toad Quacker, just because I feel like it. We've got our first one right here, the ramp. The ramp isn't necessarily bad. I mean, if you have, like, I don't know, a golden, you're playing online, I can see using it through here, trying to get one of these item boxes if everyone's taken up the ones that are over here. Maybe I shouldn't have done this in time trials. But just as a route, I mean, it requires a mushroom, and that's what makes it so bad. Them putting it here, it's just if you're approaching it from here, it deceitfully looks like the faster path. When I first got this game, I thought the ramp was faster, and that's a problem. But of course, this is not the only useless path on Luigi Circuit, because we have an even worse one up here. Not the boost pads. You may have forgot there's road up here. This is the first track we're looking at, and it can't get much worse than this. As opposed to taking the inside line here to get, you know, a tight line, or, I mean, this is assuming you don't have a shroom, but if you did have a shroom, you could just cut this off altogether. You could hit the boost panels, right? I mean, this kind of path here, this still ain't slow. I just don't know who in their right mind would come up here. This is a trap. This is a trap for new players who don't know how to steer. It's just really bad. That's all I have to say about it so far. We'll get back to it later. Now we got Mushroom Gorge. Now, if I was making this video 2 years ago, I would say this left path is pretty stupid. But, of course, now we're living in 2025, and the world record actually uses this. It's a strat. Not like that, but you get what I mean. You're supposed to use the left mushrooms here. So they are useful after all. But Mushroom Gorge isn't off the hook yet. How much slower... See, this is two different paths. How much slower is the left than the right? It's pretty well established that you want to, you know, trick off this, wheelie off... Okay. Quacker's pretty slow, but no one ever really uses the right path. Both routes have item boxes, and this one is definitely slower. Only a little bit slower, but the developers very clearly highlighted it as a separate path, even including that little sign up there. So we are going to include this as a slow path. It's not that much slower, but it's definitely slower. The only exception is if you're using a cart. I know that the carts use this road. I guess you can get a mini turbo on this turn, so that makes sense, but You know, most people aren't karters. Coconut Mall's got a lot of different routes. Lots of forks in the road, lots of decisions to make. We have this decision here. There are 3 routes. We can either go to the left and hit these boost panels, which do have items, or we could go to the right, and then there's this third option. This one, I feel like is probably the worst. Here, I don't know, I never take that route. I genuinely can't remember the last time I did. If you happen to take the bottom route, you can also go right or left here, which, genuinely, why would you go right? It is just the same thing, but slightly worse because no boost panel. I think this is our point of focus, though. This ramp, going down, or excuse me, this escalator, going down this escalator seems to probably be the worst route. Although, I mean, I can see this being worse as well. No, but this gives you items. That's what I gotta remember. You know what? Let's do this. Let's investigate both of these later, and we'll see which one is slower. So, yeah. I keep forgetting where the item boxes are for some reason. I guess playing this game for 16 years just isn't enough to memorize it. We're going to do the rest of our investigating in versus mode, so I can actually see where the item boxes are. Just ignore all these people. They're whatever. Okay. Right off the bat, I am noticing that this whole right path here, there's not any items on that? Why would you not take this? Or at the very least, just take the turn normally. Let's say I land. Let's say I'm the kind of giblet to take the right instead. I mean, at least there'll be no one over here to bump you, but that's just because everyone else is smarter than you. They're taking the better route. We're going to go ahead and we're going to add this to the list. This path... Oh, freaking... Look, even Wario. Wario is like an evil dude, and even he's trying to help me take the path on the left because he knows it's faster. Next up, we've got these ramps. Now, when I see this, I see 4 different paths. Alright, so hear me out. The way the world record does it, right? Tricks off of this, tricks off of this. Gets 2 bump tricks, lowest air possible. Now, we're in a race right now, so you can see that there are actually item boxes here. I can see taking the left for items. I can also see taking the right, because people often will put a fake item box on one of these bumps, or a banana. It can be a safer decision to take this bigger ramp on the right, which leaves us with our last path here. Now, it's like the path on the left for time trialing, you know, except you can't trick off of this. This is not trickable. So this is completely just like no reason to use it. The only time you're taking this route is if you get bumped and you wind up over here against your will. Let me think if there's any other bad paths here. I want to check the end. Oh, yeah, I think we got something. I think not taking the shortcut is valid, so I'm not going to count it, even though it is slower. This... yeah, there's not any reason to go this way. It is a lot faster to just trick off of this and ride it to the end. This other wall of zipper ramp, afraid it's going on the list. Gold mine, I feel like, is going to have some material to work with. I can see a reason for this. I mean, this, obviously, you can get yourself an item. Really, I was thinking we'd have more to work with here, but it's pretty much just this split path at the end. I mean, this path on the right seems useless. I just feel like every single time I'm playing online, I go for the left path. Now, if I happen to get here where there's a thing in the way, well, I usually just kind of ride the edge like this. It gives you a lot of room to work with. This does seem like it's pretty useless. This over here, you get item boxes and boosts and a trick ramp at the end. I mean, this is by far the better path, and it's not that hard to take. We're going to go ahead and cap a screenshot of this, add it to the list. It does also give you item boxes, so it's not that much worse, but it's very obvious that it's worse, which I think kind of gives it some credit. I think I can smell a useless path on this one. I think I can smell a slower route cooking up. Keeping my eyes peeled here. It was a good snipe. That CPU threw that bomb off a wall. It hit like 4 of us. Here we are. Now, you see the item box and you think, oh, well, that's good. You can get triple shrooms. You can get whatever. But there's a box set right there, and this path wraps all the way around here. Now, I guess you could hit this box and then like try and chain it into the other one. Let me test. I want to see if it's possible to hit this box and then also get an item from the next box, if I'm like spamming my roulette. Because if so, then this route isn't totally useless. You could use it to get a second box. If they expect you to hit that box and not get another item over there, there's no reason to go up here. Let's test this out. Yep, alright. The route is not completely stupid. Oh, hold the phone. So, that item box is at the very end over there. Which means they don't just expect you to get this item. They expect you to get up here and stay on here the entire time to get 2 items. As opposed to the other strategy where you get up here and then you get here for 2 items. This is really bad. I didn't realize this, but wow. Yeah, this definitely is going on our list. It's, that's gotta lose some real time. Because both paths give you 2 item boxes. So why would you go so further out? And no, like, you can't reach the item box from the edge to go for 3. You are stuck with just getting 2. That is like rivaling that stupid thing on Luigi Circuit in the beginning. That's really bad. Yeah, everything's pretty straightforward so far. Yeah, zipper gives you items. You know what, though? I think the very end is where a problem arises. Let's just take a look here. So there's the leaves, and I think it's this one can give you a star sometimes. Maybe it's this one? I don't know. Maybe it's... I can't remember. Is it this one? I could have sworn that I saw a Rerim YouTube short about this. Maybe it was this one. Huh? Doesn't matter. You can go up here, get an item box and a trick panel, a trick ramp with a boost panel, or you can take the right path, which also gives you an item box and a trick ramp with a boost panel. So my question is, why on earth you would take the middle path? I mean, I don't know, maybe if you're afraid of either of these other ones having like a fib or something, but, you know, these branches, they give you like weirdly really high tricks. Like even if I aim for the farthest side, look at that. It would have been probably better if I didn't hit the thing at all. So I think I'm gonna count the middle path on Maple Tree Way as a bad route. It's definitely going to be slower than the other 2. Yeah, the middle route's definitely deserving. Because 2 small tricks, even if you manage to get like really low tricks, it's still not going to be faster than getting an item box and a boost ramp. And it doesn't help that there's more than likely going to be bananas everywhere because of those leaf piles. Maple Tree Way, you have a pretty bad path. You made the list. Usually when I'm playing this track offline, especially in time trials, I'm doing the glitch. So in my mind, the whole rest of this is a useless path, and it's a lot slower. I already know that the top and bottom route here barely actually make a difference, so we're not going to be looking into that. Both of them give 1 item box set, right? Or does this one give 2? Yeah, they both give 1. But once we get up here, we got to use our noggins a little bit because there's a couple different ways you can go. So there's up here where you have the trick ramp, down there where you have the boxes. You can also go for rock hop here. There's this ramp, which I guess is slower, but not slower enough to be a big deal. This is where things get... I mean, I don't know how much slower it is, but everybody always takes the right path. in my experience. I never see people going to the left here. The only time I ever go to the left is if I do rock hop and I end up in a weird spot and it kind of forces me to. It does give you the boost trick ramp, but I think having to go around this big rock that's falling right now loses so much time. I mean, it's definitely not as fast as the other route. It's a lot slower. I'm gonna say this makes the list. Moonview does have a couple of pretty silly design choices right at the beginning. So there's this, and there's this up here. I don't know why they felt the need to put this box so high, but I guess you're supposed to use it as a ramp. This is sort of the road, these marks. Okay, so I use it as a ramp, I hit this box. I just don't see the point, though. You've got all these boxes right here. Why do that? I think it's so awkward going up at the beginning. It's definitely slower. There's just so many items, though. It's like if you want to get if you want a bag to get the like lowest placement box in the beginning, you're gonna do it here. If you want to try and snag a box and everyone took these, then you can just come up to here. And, you know, if you don't get something good here, why would you come up to this one? Go over there. Weirdly, I'm not even seeing any of the CPUs come up here. Did y'all notice that? Some of the CPUs went up on that one with the ramp, but none of them came up here. I also think this can be a bit of a bit problematic because, I mean, let's say I come off of here, I hit the item box, I immediately fall off. I could land on top of a car, I could, you know, land right in front of a car and get run over, could land on a trap like a banana. I don't know. If we're going off the rule that, in theory, every box gives you triple shrooms, I don't know how much slower this is. This path is annoying, its existence bugs me, but is it that much slower? Well, we'll add it to the list. What about this other one? This other one seems... Okay, well there's what I was talking about. This other one seems just as bad, though. When you come up here, and yes, it has item boxes, but so does down here. You want to get an item box from a good spot? You can just hop up onto that. This other path seems like it's really bad. And this one's famously bad. I've heard people call this one bad for many years. But you know what? People are right. Because even though this has a trick ramp, it's a really awkward trick ramp. Like, many vehicles can't even make that turn there. Now I'm gonna have to play this track again just to get a screenshot, because the CPUs were so desperate to get out of here. I think those routes make them upset too. No, you frickin' dingbat. Alright, yeah. Really good spot for a ramp. Really good spot for a trick ramp. So you get the boost when you land, so you can't control where you're gonna frickin' go, so you can hit the cars every time. Huh? Now there is a ramp here. That's bad, but is it worth being on the list? I think it is. Because let's think about this really. Both of these other half pipes give you items. This does not. So what this kind of implies is that you could either get an item box here and then get another item box up there, or the same thing on the left, right? Or you could get one item here and then take that. Why would you do that? It seems really odd that they even put a ramp here. There's no way that they thought in development this was a decent, like, way to go. This is definitely going on the list. It's bad enough. Now, Peach Beach does have at least one terrible path that I know of. In Schnoz's video, he said this path was useless. I don't think that this path is actually that bad. Now, the reason simply being, if you get an item here that you don't like, you can come over here and guaranteed people are going to pass you. You'll be in a lower placement, and then you can chain for a better item. It works. And if that doesn't work, it sets you up to get another better item here. So, all in all, I mean, for time trials, yeah, that's definitely a useless path, but the item boxes make up for it. There's no items on the right side, and you get 2 shots on the left side. I would almost say, I mean, in a lot of cases, I think this path can be better online. Now, this path here is a different story. I mean, why? So first of all, we have items over here. So if you're looking over at this item box, you can just forget about this giving you an advantage. There's no way to get 2 items. So the right path has item, the left path has item, they each give you 1. So, like, maybe if you really want to just make sure you're dodging everybody, you can go this way, but, like, look at that turn it sets you up for. That is an awkward turn. If you're using Flame Runner, that could be kind of hard to take. You don't know how the water's going to be. You know, if the tides are low, then it's a straight wheelie. But like you saw just a second ago, I mean, that wasn't a straight shot. Now, the fountain path, I have seen people actually use this and like benefit from it, because you can get an item box that you wouldn't otherwise get. Like the main straightaway gives you an item, but that gives you another item. So it's sort of like the beginning where, yeah, the path itself isn't great, but because you can get more items from it, I think that pays off. But going around the coral, that is just bad. There's no reason to do that. Let's see if any of the CPUs take it. Even they know. Even they know. There's just no reason to be back here. For a track so simple, you wouldn't think that Yoshi Falls has any bad paths, but I know of at least one, which is here. This waterfall. Now this waterfall, not only is it just a slower route, but you're also missing out on an item box, which is just 2 levels of bad. And I think the dumbest part, if I'm not mistaken, the staff ghost shrooms through here. This is the shroom spot they use. Why? It's the worst part of the track to use the shroom on. I mean, you're probably better going shroomless up here than using a shroom down here. But because there's an item box on here, you know, I mean, the way we're calculating it, that's triple shrooms, and this is nothing. Yeah, it's terrible. This is a very bad path. Another place that could be an issue is here. Because for some weird reason, they decided to have another path that is also slower and also doesn't give you an item. Now, I guess the difference here, you have boost panels you can trick. That was annoying. I think this just barely qualifies. I'm gonna go ahead and add it to the list. I think this one's gonna be one of the less bad ones, but it's still a bad one. Sherbetland is extremely straightforward. This is a fine route because, I don't know. I mean, I take that route sometimes online. It's not that slow. Now, here we might have something to work with. Yeah. Okay. Is this a route? There's nothing that guides where the road is. There is a boost panel, so I'm going to assume that going around this much at least is what they intended. We're going to call that a route. Not going around that last one because that's just extra. But it's clear that at least going right here, and it seems pretty natural to continue going right until after this one. We're going to count that as a route. Alright, so Shy Guy Beach I know has a couple. First of all, there's this one. I don't know why they really made it like this. It doesn't make sense. If you had a mushroom, you could use it here, but you could also just take the normal way and use it through like this. This is definitely a bit slower, and you know what? Now I'm realizing you miss out on an item box set too, so it just went from a bit slower to a lot slower. In addition to this, we've got another route up here that I know is slower. Now, there's a split path here, right? You can either go to the left, which is faster, or go to the right, which gives you an item box. That makes sense. So why do you have a split path here? You can either go the obvious way that gets you to the finish line quicker, or you can go around. Why? This definitely makes the list. This might be worse than the other one. Now this one is famously, like, this one's really bad. but obviously going right here is a lot slower. And I think it's funny, because a lot of the chain chomps on this track have items trailing them. It would make a lot of sense if this chain chomp maybe only circled around the right but had an item. Then the right path would give you an item, and the left path, you know, it gives you an item too, but you'd be able to get 2 items by going to the right, so it would have a use. But this specific chain chomp, they decided would actually not have items. They wanted to make sure that this route was that much slower. And you know, I don't know if there are any other cases of that happening, where the developers, they intend a path to be there. They put a path there on purpose, but they specifically wanted to, like, guarantee it was slower. Funny enough, I use this online sometimes. If I want to get a low place box, I do this to sort of kill some time. But it's not like I have to. I could also just take the left path. That's going to be a really bad one. I'm sure of it. Besides that, that's definitely slower. We're going to screenshot that too. That gets added to the list. Going around this is definitely slower, but only a little bit. And on certain vehicles, you kind of have to. So we're going to give that the pass. These ramps are definitely slower. These are like Luigi Circuit ramps, you know? It's like if you have one shroom to use on the whole track, you sure shouldn't use it here. But I think if it's just here or like shrooming on the straightaway afterwards, this is probably still faster, so we're not going to count it. Peach Gardens, though, did give us a couple things to work with, so I can appreciate that. This is really the thing. We've already confirmed before on the channel that it is a developer-intended strat to take this cut. It was not an oversight. They did do it on purpose. You can look straight in the Mario Kart Wii trading cards. There is one that has this shortcut on it. Which means that this route really is just the bad route. This is getting added to the list for sure. I will say, while this route is definitely a slower route, it's not always definitively a worse route. Because sometimes somebody plants a bomb in those item boxes. If you're just dropping onto it, taking the shortcut, you might not see the bomb, or it might be a fib, or it might be a banana, or it might be whatever. If you're taking the slow route, at least you can kind of see what's going on from over here. You can sort of check it to make sure they're safe. That's like the one upside to it. Now that we had our list, it was time to figure out which routes were the fastest. Well, actually, we had a quick detour first. I decided to make a tier list ranking each route based entirely on assumption with no actual data, just to see how it would compare to the real list after labbing out each route. Here's how it went. Ladies and gents, here we are. We are going to be ranking these based on assumption. Let's start off with the Luigi Circuit ramp. I've got a feeling this one is really not that bad. I kind of just put it on here because it's a little bit worse. I'm gonna say this is like 2 seconds slower. I don't want to say mild time loss, because I do think that this is worse than some others. I don't know if I'd put it into terrible, though. So I think for now we'll put it in pretty bad, and then we'll reevaluate. This is different. This is very bad, because your alternatives are just so much better. I guess you're not going to get bumped or hit by items here, but the only reason you're not getting hit by items is because nobody else is going to take the top route. I'm feeling, I think, really, really, really bad for this one. I'm between these two. I don't think it goes into guaranteed VR loss. Although, if we're being literal, I do think if you're taking this path, you're probably losing VR. Then again, it's the Luigi Circuit, so, you know, it doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to lose VR. The Mushroom Gorge boost panel route. This one is a small difference. Honestly, I'm going to put this in mild time loss. It could go into pretty bad. It's like about the same as the ramp, but I think it's better than the ramp. I have a feeling it's just small. I think it's a small enough difference to be at the bottom. Next up, we have both of our Coconut Mall routes here. We have the left path with the boost panel, and we have the down escalator. So when I was looking at these earlier, I thought this one had item boxes. Believe it or not, neither of these give you a chance at an item box. The left one having boost panels, I mean, that helps, but you're definitely better off going the right path. This will lose you some time. This one deserves fairly terrible in my book. I'm gonna put this one after. I think this one is also fairly terrible, but like to a lesser degree. We've got the DK Summit right routes on the left turn. I feel like this first one with the zipper ramp probably loses more time. Like, I think it's deceitfully bad. It's probably a lot worse than it looks. I don't think that it's almost as bad as this one, I think. I mean, this is just my predictions. I'm probably going to be wrong about a lot of this. I'm going to put that up with this. Is it worse than this? I mean, the optimal line versus... This probably goes in super terrible. I think this is just about as bad. We have the left ramp at the end of DK Summit. I just don't know why they even put ramps on both sides. I mean, like, the same as with the other DK Summit ramp route. It's a left turn. Why are you putting ramps on the right side of the turn? Same here, it's a right turn and they put a ramp on the left. This one is very bad, but I do think this is probably worse than these two. I'm gonna put it in the tier with Luigi Circuit. Really, really, really bad. Daisy Circuit, it's definitely not as bad as either of these two. I mean, it's more than fair. It's super terrible. I'm gonna say it's above that. It's worse than this one, not as bad as this one, so it goes there. Maple Treeway. This one is so weird, man. Because it's like you don't even think about the fact that you're missing out on a boost trick ramp, and you're missing out on items. So when you factor all that in, like, it doesn't look as bad at first, but it gets worse the more you think about it. I don't know, though. I don't think it's as bad as super terrible. I think it's probably, like, between the CM ones. It's, like, the same. These are all basically the exact same. Wario's Gold Mine, I feel like this one's very small difference. I'm gonna say it's, like, pretty bad, but not that bad. Grumble Volcano left route, that's probably, like, bottom of fairly terrible. Just going off the top of my head, first thought. No, it's probably the bottom of super terrible, really. This route definitely, I think, loses more time than this route, but probably not as much as, not as much as like this route. The Moonview one, I think, the one with the ramp, well, we'll do the other one first. The first Moonview route that is dumb, it is very bad. Probably also goes in super terrible. Probably in the same spot as this one, really. This one is definitely worse, I think. This one is up with the real deals. Bowser's Castle ramp, that one's really bad. That one might go in guaranteed VR loss. Just taking this route is such a bad idea, I feel like. It's like you're missing out on an item box, you're missing out on a zipper ramp, which gives you a boost and the opportunity to trick, so that you can drive through this ramp and also possibly get hit by a giant fireball. It's just the worst of all worlds. I'm not going to say it's the worst in the game. I don't think it's that bad. But it's really... They shouldn't have put the ramp there, is my point. It was just not good. The Peach Beach one is also some pretty serious work. It's not even that it loses a ton of time, it's just so pointless. Like, really. The DK Summit one is bad, but it kind of tricks you because, you know, they have zippers. This one has a ramp. Even this one has something. It's a sad little, scrawny little ramp, but it's a ramp. But with Peach Beach, they really just don't give you anything at all. It is truly a head scratcher why this one is, like, here. I would say, oh, maybe they didn't really intend it, they just kind of kept it like that for the design of the track, but they put item boxes back there, right? They intentionally put item boxes there. So I think that we can call this a road, we can call this a route. It's just such a bad one. I think it's a little bit less bad than Luigi Circuit. I think it's one spot less. We've got the ramp on Yoshi Falls. The ramp is really bad. You hit the boost panel, you get the trick. I believe there's another boost panel afterwards. And then it leads directly into more boost panels. So if you get an item, like by the time it would actually be worth using it, you're already almost to the first item set again. These three are very close in my head. You know what? I don't actually think this one's it. I think it's here. I think this one, it might end up surprising me and being worse than I thought. It might be less bad than I thought. But for now, I'm putting it in really, really, really bad, which obviously still It's not a great route if it ends up in that tier. We have the Sherbetland outside route. You get to hit one boost panel instead of taking the tighter line. It's a little safer because there won't be bananas or traps because no one goes around there. And there won't be penguins. I'm gonna say probably about right here. I don't think it's as bad as some of these other ones. We've got around the first patch of grass on Shy Guy Beach. This is definitely slower. Maybe if you have triple shrooms and you're a little bit scared, you're playing online, you don't want to get hit by something, then I guess you could take this route. It's still not really necessary, but you could do it and not lose tons of time. This is one of the obvious ones where it's just like, why is it even in the game? It's pretty stupid. But in terms of actual time loss, I really don't think it's much worse than... It might not even be worse than like this. This might just be fairly terrible. You know what? Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my prediction. We have around the grass patch on Peach Gardens. The grass patch leading into the hedge maze specifically. This is really not useful if you're using a vehicle with like abysmal drift or an enormous hitbox, or the Jet Setter, which has both. I'm gonna say this one probably loses about 2 seconds. 2 seconds, I think, would also put it in fairly terrible. Definitely, I think I'm gonna move this up to here. I think this, or excuse me, wait, yeah. This goes above Grumble Volcano, and this takes its place. We have the regular route DK Mountain. While I do think this one has a use, I think it's pretty freaking bad. If you're not using this shortcut, there's a good chance you're going to be losing some of that sweet VR, so we're putting it there. Now I've got my big three. I've been saving these three. We have the long waterfall on Yoshi Falls. We have the right path at the beginning of Peach Gardens. And we have the right path at the end of Shy Guy Beach, which I almost don't even want to consider a road because it's kind of thin, but it is road. It matches all the rest of the road on the track, so we are counting it. These three, I feel like, are probably the three worst routes in the game. I don't know. I think they're all like pretty close. I'm putting them all in worst in the game tier, so I'll just move them up here now. The question is, what of the worst is like the worst of the worst? I think Yoshi Falls, just putting into context that Yoshi Falls makes you miss out on an item box, I think that bumps it up to the worst. Of these two, I think Shy Guy Beach is probably worse. I think Shy Guy Beach is second worst, I think Peach Gardens is third, and I think Yoshi Falls Waterfall is the worst route. Intended by the developers, the entire game. This is my predictions tier list, folks. We are now actually going to go into time trials and lab this out to figure out objectively, truly, which is the slowest path that the developers were crazy enough to include in the entire game. See you over there. So by this point, we've got a list of the bad routes. We even made a prediction list for where they'd all rank. Now, what's this experimenting I was talking about? I went into time trials and drove every bad route compared to an optimal path. Not necessarily the best route for time trials, but the ideal route for online play, with items factored in. Lots of the routes were right at the end of the tracks, so the game essentially calculated the time loss on its own. And for the others, I used visual cues on the track to match up the ghosts and calculate the time difference. Obviously, going based off one time trial ghost doesn't give us a huge sample size, so even after testing things out, take this with a grain of salt. Now, without further ado, really? Now? Yo. What's that? What do you mean two of them are actually faster? They save time? There are a couple of blunders in what I considered to be slow paths, and I'm sure some of you watch this and up to this point were frustrated that they were even on the list. Let's address them now. I don't even know what I was thinking with Wario's Gold Mine, because the right path, while it is usually slower online, I mean, well, there's just less reason to take it online, it is the optimal route for time trials. You use the detach, and I guess I just wasn't thinking about the detach at all when I recorded this. Problem solved. First problem solved. We have another one. Maple Treeway. This one fascinates me. because this is one I didn't know about. I knew about the detach, I was just being freaking stupid the first time around. This one though, apparently the flap world record actually tricks off the roots instead of going the top route. Now granted, this is in time trials, item boxes don't matter, and going the bottom route does still miss you an item box, so in a race it is still slower, but for time trials, if you get 2 very low tricks off the roots, can be faster. Maybe not faster, I mean, the flap world record does it, so it's at least as fast. We're gonna put this like at the very, very bottom, because this one I think is like the most faster, the most useful out of all of these. And with that out of the way, now we can start the actual list. Starting with the least consequentially bad route, we have the CM downward escalator. I really expected this to be worse than it was. It actually only lost, in my experience, 0.107. I still wouldn't recommend it, 0.1, that's not nothing. In a game like this that's so fast-paced, 0.1 is still a decent time loss. But if you're playing online, it's not as big a deal. Honestly, this could be a better route to take in certain situations. Personally, I never use it. I can't remember the last time I did in an online race, which is why I thought it would be worse, I guess. Maybe there are some big fans of the CM downward escalator in here that are totally stoked that it's not actually that bad. Next up, we have the Moonview Highway ramp route. If you're like me, you're probably surprised here, because it's like, really? This isn't that bad? The Moonview Highway ramp route, in my experience, lost 2.119 seconds. Now that's a lot of time to lose by just taking a bad route. However, if you take this route compared to just the normal optimal route, get the low trick and all that jazz, this route gives you an extra item box. And the way we're calculating it is an item box subtracts 2 seconds from the time. So even though you're going way out of your way for an item box, when really you don't need to go that far out of the way, this overtaking the regular, like the time trial route, is actually barely any slower. After adjusting for the item box, it only loses 0.119. So still, it loses a little bit more than this, but it's very close. Hope you like Moonview Highway, because the next one doesn't lose that much time either. Even seeing this screenshot is kind of funny to me. I still don't know why they put the item box so high up here. You miss this item once, you don't get a second chance. Anyway, again, the same item thing as the first one. It's over 2 seconds slower if you don't factor for the item. It's 2.249 slower. That's bad. But the item saves it a lot of flack. Only 249 milliseconds, just shy of a quarter of a second behind. This one I feel like it's not too common to see people taking. It's the Mushroom Gorge leftward route. You go left at the mushrooms instead of going right. If you're a karter, this is like home to you. This is a very familiar location. This is your happy place. But if you're not a karter, this is like you have no idea you don't even know is this a custom track? Have I seen this before? It loses 0.281 seconds. Both paths have items, so there's no subtracting or adding or adjusting to be done there. This will be the last path, the last route to go in the mild time loss section. I don't remember my original list, but there's no way any of these were below Mushroom Gorge. Or these, for that matter. I think I put this as like the least time-losing route out of all of them. The first pretty bad route is the Peach Beach route. So behind the coral is famously just one of those why is this here kind of things. Now, I was pretty gracious with how I measured this one, to be fair. First of all, I waited until the water was optimal, so after the coral you could get a straight shot to the next section without having to drive through water. Peach Beach, unfortunately, you're never going to have a totally fair comparison just because the water is always making a difference in how bad this path is. The reason why this is only here is because I also slightly altered the path from what I showed before, and I actually went off the ramp because it just doesn't make sense to go behind the coral without going off the ramp. You have to like drive backwards and drive through water. It doesn't make sense. You lose 2.342 seconds. But because you get an extra item, that ends up at 0.342 seconds. So, if we're talking time trials, you better never be back there. Like, this is completely useless for time trials. But if you're talking for online, taking the left path on Peach Beach really isn't a bad idea. Next up, the CM boost panels. In the original recording, I kept thinking this had item boxes because I was just so sure, like, there's no way they would even put this path there if it didn't have item boxes. But that's exactly what they did. There are no items over here. I don't know why. Like, it's such a no-brainer. Put one box set in front of each of the boost ramps. This has got to be like one of those Mandela effect things, because I could have sworn there were item boxes here, and there aren't. Anyway, compared to just going to the right, not using a shroom because this is a shroomless path, going to the right saves 0.373 seconds over this, meaning that after adjusting for the shrooms on Peach Beach, this is just a mere 31 milliseconds slower. Why? This is such a good item box spot. What a generational fumble. Mario Kart Wii players are going to pay for this horrid mistake they made by not putting the item boxes here for as long as we continue to play the game, and that's a real bummer. After Coconut Mall, we have the Grumble Volcano left path. This one is a pretty big jump. I think this will be the first fairly terrible one, because it's a lot. The time losses start to get more serious here. The Grumble Volcano left path loses 0.699 seconds. We're getting close to the territory of losing a full second here. Personally, I only ever take the left path on Grumble if I mess up Rock Hop, like I have a terrible alignment going out of it and I have to take the left path, in which case it's not as big a deal because you're saving a lot of time from Rock Hop. But if you're just going the left path, you're forfeiting a pretty good chunk of time. You could be expanding your breakaway by going on the right. Next up is the Peach Gardens flower bed. I think just so much experience taking the inside line here. It's easy to forget that you can even go around the flower bed. But you can. 0.984 seconds. Now I'm gonna put it in the fairly terrible tier. But that's pretty bad. The next thing on the list loses over a full second. I think it's gonna go in super terrible, because losing a full second just for choosing a bad route, not getting hit by an item, not having your controller die, not getting bumped into the off-road, but just going a bad way and losing a full second off of a developer-intended route? And one that requires a mushroom, no less? If that didn't give it away, our next route is the Luigi Circuit ramp. And it is super terrible. The Luigi Circuit ramp loses 1.13 seconds over the pipe shortcut with the mushroom. The ending shortcut on Luigi Circuit can be a little tricky just because you don't have a lot of room to mess it up. So I can understand going the ramp, but it does lose so much time over the regular ending cut that you really you better not. Next up is one that I actually thought would be worse, the Shy Guy Beach end route going around the grass patch. It loses 1.332 seconds. That is a second and a third of another second being lost from taking this route. I consider this a road just because I consider this other one a road, right? It's still sand. If they wanted it to be off-road, they'd either make it grass or water. But in all my time playing this game, I don't know if I've ever seen anyone go around here, interestingly enough. And it's counterintuitive, it's out of the way, it's not like there's an item back there, there's no reason at all to take this. So obviously it's gonna be slower, but I thought it'd be slower than it is. It surprised me. Good for Shy Guy Beach. The DK Summit right zipper. So this is the zipper right out of the cannon, the first one on the track. If instead of taking the left path, you want to mix things up and go to the right, you are losing 1.808 seconds. Now that is a lot of time. And you know, that's a very big jump from the 1.3 seconds you lost on Shy Guy Beach. That's almost a half a second more than the last one. I think we're going to be putting this in the same tier, even though that is a huge jump up. because really, really, really bad. The only reason I'm not putting these in a higher tier is because it does continue to get even worse with what's left. I mean, unlike the Shy Guy Beach one, I can see taking this one. Usually in my experience, I only end up on this ramp if I get bumped. Anyway, it's a bad route. Shocker. I mean, I'm giving you what you clicked the video for, huh? After the right zipper comes the other bad path on Shy Guy Beach. Other grass patch. If you put these two together, it kind of looks like it's one, like, island. This is the bad path in the first half of Shy Guy Beach. And this one loses 1.927 seconds. We're just about to hit the 2-second loss portion of the video. Yeah, this is another one where there's just not a reason to take it. It's out of the way, there's no items. If you were like super scared about getting hit by a bomb, like you smuggled a star into first or something, you really wanted to hold it, I guess you could go this way, but you are losing time and you're losing almost 2 whole seconds for it, so you better have some real plans on how you're going to use that theoretical star. It's a bad route, but I'm going to say what I've been saying this whole time. It gets worse. The DK Summit rampless path is up next, and this, I think, deserves to go here. It is really, really, really bad, because this is the first route that loses over 2 seconds. In a time trial situation where there is no question of item boxes, you're losing 0.331. That's not awful. It kinda is, I guess. If you're time trailing, 0.3 is a lot of time. But if you're playing online, you're also missing out on an item box, which equals 2 seconds for the point of convenience in this list, which means that this route loses a combined 2.331 seconds. Is this a route? Does it count? It's not like it's off-road. They could have put the fence right up against the ramp, so you couldn't go back there if they wanted to. But they clearly made it big enough for like any vehicle to drive through there. So it couldn't have been an accident. DK Summit really gave us a lot to work with. We'll get to that one later though, because our next route on our list is actually on Sherbetland. And unlike this, there's no question this was indeed an intended route, very specifically because they put boost panels. Well, they put a boost panel, and they made it the most, like, wide open part of the track. Whether you're time trialing or playing online, losing over 2 seconds, that's bad. And that's a route that you really, really, really want to avoid, hence the tier name, really, really, really bad. This really seems like the kind of route where they should have put items. They should have put items in front of the boost panel. They should have put an item box just somewhere in this big, wide open area. It's a missed opportunity. I'll tell y'all right now though, if I ever get my hands on a time machine, I will go back in time and convince the developers to put some item boxes in the open area of Sherbetland. I will make this right if given the opportunity. In the meantime, yeah, it's a really, really, really bad path. Our next route gives us the smallest jump up in badness out of all these routes, the Luigi Circuit Upper Route. So this loses 2.415 seconds, which is 1 millisecond more than the Sherbetland one lost. If you were to drive these two absolutely perfectly, this route might be a little bit slower and beat out Luigi Circuit on this list, but I didn't drive it perfectly, and this one lost 1 millisecond longer, so we're going to take it as fact. This is just a really silly route, and it almost feels like they didn't mean for you to drive on it, just because the boost panels, not only is that a sharper way to take the turn, but there are boost panels. I never thought in my life I'd be complaining that Luigi Circuit doesn't have enough item boxes, but they could have put some up here. At least then it would serve a purpose. At least then it's like, okay, I'm in 10th place, I need to take a risk and get an item. Instead, if you go up here in 10th place, you're just going to drop down to 12th place. After Luigi Circuit, we have Daisy Circuit. The Daisy Circuit route at the end with the hairpin turn loses 2.437 seconds. This one I don't understand at all, because it's not like it was an oversight. There's no way you can oversee the fact that people could just hit the first box and then hit one of the ones on the main path, instead of hitting the first box and going all the way around to hit the one that's super far out of the way. Next up we have DK Mountain. DK Mountain's interesting. It loses 2.587 seconds, and it's just the normal route. I do believe we have sufficient evidence that the shortcut was intended by developers. They knew about it. I mean, or they put it on the cards. I would say 90% of the time, you just want to take the cut. Even if you're not cutting out all of it, if you're doing like the 2008 shortcut, as it's called, where you kind of go up the side and then around. I mean, that sure beats going all the way around the big turn. So, yeah, it's bad. It's very, very bad. Next up is the Yoshi Falls ramp. This route, driving-wise, only loses 919 milliseconds. However, you're also missing out on an item box by taking it, which means you're actually losing 2.919 seconds. That is almost 3 seconds for taking this route. And the way I measured it, I only kind of half took the route. I went off the ramp and like back onto the regular path a little bit early. So for it to lose that much when I was really trying to make it like not that bad, that's a yikes, man. That's bad. And we're not done on Yoshi Falls because the next one on our list is also on Yoshi Falls. The waterfall loses 1.009 seconds and also makes you miss an item box. So it loses 3 seconds and 9 milliseconds. I need to have a talk with Ninstar Dotak. I want to know what he was doing as the beginner staff ghost inspiring people to take this route. Next up we have the DK Summit left zipper. Unlike Yoshi Falls, this one does not cause you to miss out on an item box, but sadly you still lose over 3 seconds from doing it. This was measured assuming that you go to either the left or right zipper right at the beginning of the zipper being available on DK Summit. I mean, I expected this one to be bad, but I didn't realize it was going to be this bad. And we only have 2 left. 2 more items on our list to rank. Next up, guys, second place. And once I reveal second place, the worst route in the game will be very obvious. It may already be. It's one of these 2 routes. Folks, now is the time to make your guesses. What is the worst developer-intended route in all of Mario Kart Wii? Ladies and gents, the worst route in the game is the Peach Gardens right route. But before we get to that, we gotta go with second. The second worst route in the game. The Bowser's Castle middle ramp loses 1.185 seconds. Not bad, right? Well, you miss an item box from it. You miss out on an item because they only put those on the half-pipe zipper ramps on the sides, which are both faster anyways, even without the item. So you're losing a total of 3.185 seconds on average by going down the middle path on Bowser's Castle. Not to mention the big fireballs that could potentially hit you. We're not factoring those in because that's a maybe, but if you get hit by one of those, that also loses like multiple seconds and your item. This place is terrible. This place is worse. The Peach Gardens right path at the circle loses 3.609 seconds. This has nothing to do with items, which means that's just what it loses, like, every time. Now, unlike some of the other routes on this list, they knew this one was slower. They tried to warn you. You can see the arrow pointing left right here. And I think they were so adamant about this path being bad, they actually removed it when they brought the track to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. You cannot go right. The game forces you to go left. I'm glad they eventually came around. It's kind of funny though, because this is a common route to take online, you know, especially just on lap 1 if you want a bag and go for an item that's good, you know, go for a golden mushroom to take the shortcut and get a lead or whatever. It's kind of funny because you'll play online and you'll see multiple people taking the bad route on purpose just to purposely lose time because they have time to kill before they can go for their item. I think part of this is up to interpretation, because this is a route that they let you drive, but they didn't want you to drive it. They gave you the option intentionally, but you can see where they wanted you to go. The Mario hedge is pointing that direction for you. I think the Bowser's Castle one, in a way, is worse. Not because it loses more time, but just because there are so many more reasons to go on the ramps on the left or right. Going on the middle ramp, you just don't do it. It's an unwise decision. And with that, folks, we have it. Our list of terrible routes in Mario Kart Wii. We also have these 2. Wait a second. Hold on. You guys aren't gonna believe this, okay? I'm editing this video. I've put so much time into editing it, and I'm finally done. It's like, okay, I'm gonna watch through it, I'm gonna preview it, and just make sure there aren't any mistakes or little editing gaffes or last minute things I wanna put in. And I noticed something peculiar about one of these routes. One route on here has a certain factor that I forgot to account for. One of these routes has items, and I didn't even notice it until just now. Can you guys guess which route it is? Can you guess which of these routes almost just fooled me? Which of these routes is actually even worse than this one, so it just nerfed this. It's not the worst in the game, it's freaking this one! This one makes you miss an item set, which means you're not losing 1.927 seconds. You are losing darn near 4 seconds because you're missing an item set with this. Talk about this route being just so abysmal. I didn't think it could get worse than the Peach Gardens right route, but here we are. Folks, this is the true list. Hopefully there aren't any other mistakes that I'm missing. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this list. I hope you enjoyed the 50 million times I had to correct myself. I love you guys. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.